Sit. Yes. This is my buddy Milo, and this is Milo's Roadmap to Success video. So Milo is a really good dog. His guardian was a little worried. He's been reactive. Now, one of the very first things we did is we removed the prong collar. Prong collars a lot of people use because they think it gives more control over the dog, but really it's a suppressive punishment-based tool. And anytime you suppress a behavior or emotion, it's going to eventually come out. And what I've found is that actually you trade a nuisance behavior like barking with a worse behavior that's more serious like aggression or something along those lines. So by just getting that out of there, dogs, the prong collar releases cortisol, the stress hormone, into the dog's blood, and it can take up to 3 days for that to dissipate. So if every time I go on this walk, I have that, then I start, I pull to get to another dog or a person, and whatever I'm looking at is where I think that punishment came from. So that's why I don't like using those, and Milo is going to be a much happier dog not using that. Now, the guardians are a little bit worried about house guests. So what I do is I call it greeting protocol 1, and you can play a little fetch with him while we're doing this. I'm thinking about this is a video really just for you guys. Other people might watch it too. But what I would do is I left a tree trail. Now, I would go out with an air blower or a broom because there's a lot of leaves. So make it easy. Now, what I do is I do the tree trail several times without anybody there at the end of it. And so the tree trail, the first couple, we just get him used to doing it. Now, the first time he did it, I was at the end of it. Now, when he approached me, I was sitting in on the curb, and when the dog approaches, you want the dog to approach from like the 4 or 5 o'clock or the 6 or 7 o'clock, the 7 or 8 o'clock, not directly behind, but more from the side, slightly behind. And so basically, he got all these great treats, puts him in a good mood. Now, the guardians here, I would recommend, do a quick game of fetch like the guardian's doing off behind camera. So say, hold it up and say, sit.
Sit.
And then he's going to say fetch as he throws it.
Fetch.
And then when the dog gets it, when the dog brings it back, he's going to hold out a treat. And when the dog drops the object,
yes,
he says yes and gives the dog. So, and you might count this out. Maybe he needs 15 fetches before guests come over, or 25, or whatever the magic number is. So try them all out until you find that Goldilocks amount of repetitions. So we exercise him first to set him up for success. We make sure there's not a lot of crazy. If people are doing a leaf blower, or there's construction, or there's a crying baby, that's things that we don't take for granted that can actually influence things. So instead, what we want to do, he wants to play fetch, is we pick and choose our time. We do the treat pouch. We've done the treat trail several times. So and usually if there's nobody at the end of it, there's just a small pile of them. So now he's like, I love going there. And he shouldn't be able to see them when he comes out past your little courtyard thing here. So the way you have your cars parked right now is what I would do. So he's going between the cars or on this side of the car. And right before he gets to be able to see the person, I have a little small pile of treats there. So he gets those. When he comes around the corner and he sees them, he's got a mouthful of treats in his mouth, a bunch of treats in his mouth. I was using the Tricky Trainer chicken liver treats, but you can also use Charlie Bears or whatever. Any kibble will work too. Anything that he will like. If he doesn't like it, then he uses a higher value treat. The smell is more important to them than the taste. Yes, this is celebrating. We'll talk about this in a sec. So do the treat trail, and then your guests are sitting there. He comes up, and when the guests come up, tell them don't pet him. Just hold the treat out to your side just like this. So he takes it off my flat hand, and then see he keeps on sniffing. Great. Now you're having him on a leash. If you think that he's going to bite or it doesn't feel comfortable, don't let him approach them. So, but at this point, he's probably done it. I don't think he's going to have a problem with it. I think he's going to be pretty happy. So then when they stand up, sometimes standing up can be startling for dogs. So you might have them throw a couple of treats, or you call them away. So he's about 5 feet away. They stand up, then have them approach again and have them hold the treat out, and preferably the side. Tell them not to front face and tower over your dog or reach and pat him on top of the head. Those are things dogs don't really like. So when he approaches, they hold the treat outside. He comes to the side, gets a treat. Then we walk maybe 2 houses, letting him sniff. And every once in a while, they're asking, hey, Milo, sit? Yes, treat. Then we take a couple more steps, touch, or boop. I don't have a treat. You have to boop first. He'll get better at that as they practice. Boop, and then he touches and yes, treat. So we're having the guest give him a cue, and if he listens to them and does what they want, they give him a reward. And sometimes I'll actually, if you trust the guest, I'll give the guest the leash. So now we meet outside where there's a lot of distractions, there's a bunch of escape routes, and there's a lot of treats that lead up to it, and then they're practicing listening to people. And then when you come in the house, I would do a couple sits on the courtyard right outside the door. Right outside the door, say sit, yes, treat. Open the door, he comes inside, another sit, yes, treat. Carry that positive momentum from outside immediately right as soon as he comes in the door. Then when he comes in the door, I would get a lick mat, put peanut butter on it, put it over there, and then you guys can sit there and he's licking that, and it releases those feel-good endorphins. Man, I love it when guests come over. I get a treat trail, I get a little mini walk, and I get a lick mat. What's not to like? We're building a positive association. All right, now when you're out and about and you meet people and they want to pet your dog, remember to say the ringworm thing. If you don't want them to meet, or the Milo doesn't feel it, or you just don't feel it, you're not comfortable with it, that is totally fine. Not your responsibility for other people to pet your dog. Now, what you could do is every time he looks at somebody, just like the video we had above, have your clicker. I usually have the clicker in my leash hand. So I'm holding the leash and the clicker in one hand. The mini treat pouch from Pet Safe, which you'll find on our supplies page, is the one I would like to use on this side. So I can hold it and click here and have this hand to be free to treat the dog. And so basically, every time you walk by somebody and he looks at him, click and give him a treat. If you don't have a clicker, say yes and give him that treat. He sees a dog and doesn't bark, yes and give him that treat. Reward him for the things we want. Now, I also like to do something called Find It Away. And can you see how far down can you see? You don't have to pan, I'm just curious. Can you see my feet?
No.
Okay, so what I would do is if Milo's here, and let's say there's a dog that just comes around the corner but is half a block away. So I show Milo I have a treat, and I say, find it as I drop it on the ground. Milo, when he licks it up, thank you, you say yes. Then I show him that I have another treat. Milo, we'll simulate this here. Maybe they can't see you, that's fine. So again, the dog is way over there. So I say, Milo, find it, yes. Find it, yes. Find it, and make sure he's looking before you throw it. Find it, yes. So I've dropped the first one under his nose, next one 1 foot away, the next one 3 feet away, the next one about 5 feet away. I just moved him 12 feet away. Now, I would have actually do this if the dog's over there, I'm sorry. Just the way of the logistics of the living room. But you want to move him away. Now, practice this when you're on walks and you don't have to. So there's a nice grass area. Find it, yes. Find it, yes. Find it, yes. And get him, he's on leash, get him used to moving away from the street. So then when you do see another dog coming by, you can do this, and we did it outside when I first met him. Right in the very first, there was a dog that walked by. I did a couple of this, he didn't care about the other dog, he was more interested in the treats. Now, the find it away, practice when you don't need it. But also remember, every time he looks at you, yes and hold out a treat. If he's like over there by by the camera, and I say yes, when he looks at me and hold out a treat, what's he doing? He's coming back to me. That's the foundation of loose leash walking. I don't really like teaching dogs to heel. It's not very much fun. It doesn't burn much energy. It's too formal. It takes a ton of training. I want the dog to just walk with a loose leash. So every time he looks at you, say yes and hold out a treat. He comes back to you. And eventually he'll start walking next to you because you're handing out $100 bills. But again, if he looks at people or does things you like, say yes and pet him and give him that reward. If he does get reactive, you have to just pull him away. You want to try to be mindful and get him out of that stuff before he gets a chance. We saw several times throughout the session where he saw somebody grumble a little bit, and I said, pause interrupter, or said his name, and show him I have a treat, and he ran away from it. But if you let him get too riled up, if he gets reactive, you might have to pull him on the leash, which I don't like to do. So I want you to try to get to the point where you don't need that because you're being so mindful ahead of time. But if you have to, pull him around a car or shrub so he can't see whatever it is. The best thing to do is increase distance. Never correct or disagree with the dog for barking or growling. Just increase the distance. But it's better if you can be mindful and make sure he doesn't have to do that. Okay, so that's, and for the harness, get an extra Y-shaped harness. And if you get one of the clips in the front, they'll say it's a no-pull harness. It's BS. You train a dog to not pull on a leash. There's no jacket that makes me a surgeon. So, but if you get a front clip, instead of if it's on the back, it can kind of activate a stronger pulling response where if it's here and you're back here, when I pull, it turns me a little aside. So it's a little bit less of the activation of the opposition response. Okay, we went over marker words. His marker word is yes. Make sure you guys walk around the house after I leave today and tomorrow. Yes, treat. Take a couple steps. Yes, treat. Remember, he doesn't have to do anything for this exercise. You say yes and get the treat in his mouth within 2 seconds. And each one of you needs to do that about 4 times. Walk around your whole house. Dogs don't generalize. We'll also have a lot of variety of practice. Do the same thing with the clicker. So you maybe yes one, and then next time, 20 minutes later, you do the clicker. Click, give him a treat. Click, give him a treat. And we only click or only say yes for the thing that we want, not to get his attention. It'll work temporarily. It will stop working. So it's a tool so that he understands he's dialed on the same page as us. Now, I would strongly recommend, again, doing the white paper on the windows, which I know the guardians here don't want to do, but it's going to accelerate your progress. And it's only, it's wintertime, all that fun stuff. After about 3 months, you can gradually start lowering that. But I don't want him to continuously practice what you don't want and undo a lot of your work. It's just going to slow down your progress. This will be much faster. Okay, so we also went over when to use cues. The cue should not be used unless you're 90% certain when I say the cue, the dog does the action. If not, then I just lure the dog into a sit and just use my marker word. The marker word I should be 100% accurate with. But if I say sit, and he doesn't sit, and I say it a whole bunch of times, sit, 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 Milo, sit, sit, sit. Oh, by not sitting, I keep your attention. And also, I'm not going to really pay attention to that word because you say it a lot and you don't mean it. So that's why if you say sit and the dog doesn't do it, then lure them. Now, I like to use, I call this the imaginary rubber band technique. So when I have a treat, I want to keep the treat within an inch or two of my dog's nose. So with Milo, I'll kind of demonstrate. So if I go like this, see how I stop tracking it? But if I want to lure him and I keep it against his nose, I'm able to lure him where I want him to go. So keep that, the rubber band pulls it back. You understand that technique? All right, we also went over hand targeting. Boop. Yes. And the Guardians did a great job with that. I have videos of this. If you forgot how to do that, message me. I'm happy to link it up on your write-up. We also went over teaching manners. Remember, if he's nudging you, pawing you, barking at you, demanding attention, you're going to say, sit, yes, and pet him. Remember to pat under the chin, on the chest, on the shoulders. You catch yourself going like this, go underneath. Somebody else wants to pet him, tell him he likes being petted here. If you really want somebody to pet him and you want to set it up, Milo, Milo, Milo. Yes, you're going to find that treat. There it is. Milo, here's one, buddy. See, I was holding the treat, he was getting the treat, and I was petting him in the place that he liked. That way, something eventually, if you feel comfortable, confident, you can have other people do. If you don't feel confident, don't do it. He doesn't have to be everybody's, doesn't have to be his buddy. Eye contact for some dogs is also a triggering response, so you might want to avoid those sort of things. Or have your guests do that. So let me see. Manners. So if he's pawing at you, barking at you, demanding attention, you tell him to sit one time. If he sits, you say a marker word, yes, and then pet him under his chin or his chest or his shoulders, and pet him much as little as you want. If you say sit and he doesn't sit, disengage. Go back to checking your stuff on your phone, watching TV, making out with your Michael, whatever it is you want to do. And so now the dog understands that if I want attention, I need to sit or lay down. Don't ask for a paw. And after a while, he'll start sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention. When he does, you bet your butt, you better pet him. Now, if he does it and does it again and does it a third time and a fourth time, what is he saying? I need some exercise. I'm bored. Take him and play fetch. Do some tug of war. Take him for a walk. Do some training. Training is a great way to drain energy. We just did an exercise at the door and he was having difficulty sitting down. So bring him over to the position. Tell him to sit, give him a treat. Walk away, bring him back into the position. Tell him to sit and walk away. Repeat that over and over again. And so it's just, you tell him here, he sits down because he knows you're going to give him a treat. Now, before I forget, I'm going to talk about the back door. So right now, the back door has kind of an accoutrement around it to prevent him from scratching. So what I told the Guardians to do is just to, instead of moving towards him and move away, like have him go sit, say sit, yes, about 5 feet away from the door, 8 feet away from the door, yes, give him a treat. Take one step to the door, come back, say yes, and give him a treat. Don't reach for the treat pouch yet. I usually like to say yes, then I reach for the treat. If you reach for the treat pouch and say yes, or reach at the same time, he's looking at your hand for the treat. So try to make the marker word or the click yes, click, then I reach for the treat. So then basically after a while, I put him in a sit and I take 2 steps to the door. Come back, yes, give him a treat. 3 steps to the door. And I usually if I take 1 step, come back, yes, treat. I usually repeat that 1 step 3 to 5 times to warm him up, get him synced in. And then I go to 2 steps 3 to 5 times. 3 steps 3 to 5 times. And eventually I get to the door. When I reach the door, I reach my hand, don't touch the doorknob, walk all the way back to him, yes, and give him a treat. The next time, do that 3 to 5 times. Then I'm touching it. Then I'm jiggling it a little bit. Then I'm jiggling a little bit more. Then I'm jiggling it louder. Now I'm jiggling as loud as I can, but I'm not opening the door. And each time I go back to the dog, say yes, and I give him a treat. What am I saying yes for? Staying there. Eventually we'll open the door an inch, close it, go back, give him a treat. Eventually you're opening it a third, fourth. I'm going really fast here. Go at his pace. If he gets up, we add too much criteria. Backed up to a previous level of success, practice that a couple times, then go a little bit further, a little bit further. Eventually you'll be able to go and open the door, and then when you want him to go out, show me you have a treat, and say vamonos, or whatever the word is, and throw the treat out the door, he runs out there. So that becomes your cue. So eventually you can go and open the door, and you're making dishes, you're making mimosas and all sorts of stuff, and vamonos, and then he runs out the door. The door's open. He's practicing self-restraint, self-control through a nice little exercise. Now, if you want him to pee in the place you want, remember, take him out for about a week to 10 days. Have him on a leash, bring him outside, have a treat. As soon as you see he's about to start going potty, say business. Put a couple posts vertical in that, deeper towards the front of the house, so that little area. As a male dog, he's probably going to want to go pee on those things. So walk over towards him with the leash, so have your shoes on. And then as soon as say business before he does it, he does the action. When he gets done, say yes and give him that treat. After about weeks to 10 days of doing this, then walk to the door, show him you have a treat. Open the door. Now you've already conditioned him to stay there calmly so we don't have the excitement. Then you say, "Vamonos, business." And then he runs out the door, you follow him. And actually, I would probably, for this case, for the first week or so of you doing this, I would probably walk out the door yourself so that you're already there. So when you say "Vamonos," he's running from inside. When he gets to you, you walk, you take a left, go to the area you want to potty in. And if he potties in that area, then you say yes and give him 5 treats in a row. Just say yes once. Wait for him to say yes until he gets done going potty. If he potties anywhere else in the yard, there's no yes, there's no treat. So now we're giving him motivation to want to do it. And you do that for about 5 treats for about a week. After a while, he's going to just get in a habit. I like going out. That means you have to go out potty with him. I know it's inconvenient, but you're only doing this for a couple weeks. And after a while, this becomes a behavior pattern. He just pees and poops there. And then he's getting that treat. And eventually you can just say, he potties there, you say yes and give him 1 treat. Eventually you don't even have to reward him once it becomes a habit. But if he keeps on going elsewhere, keep on doing that until that becomes a behavior pattern. Now, I talked about manners earlier, and that's the word we would use if the dog's pawing at me. I say manners. Let's say that he's pawing at me and I'm petting him because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. My partner says manners. I would stop petting, say sit. If he sits, I say yes, pet him under his chin. And then I can thank my partner and then pet him. So say manners to each other to help each other recognize you're petting the dog. Because remember, whatever your dog is doing right before you pet him or yell at him or give him attention is what you're rewarding. So let's be mindful of what we're rewarding so the dog starts doing the things we want. After a while, like I said, he'll start sitting to ask for that attention. Now, celebrating is the flip side of that. Celebrating is rewarding him when he does the desirable behavior without being asked or prompted to. Every time he comes to you, yes, and pet him. Every time he sits down, yes, pet. Lays down, yes, pet. Goes to the dog bed, yes, pet. And after a while, let's say he's over there in the doorway, and I know he's coming over to me, I would say, come, as he's already the cue before the action. If you can predict he's going to do that, say come as he comes, and then he comes to you, yes, and pet him. Eventually, once you can say come and he comes to you, you can technically drop the yes, but I've been doing this with my dogs. They're 7 years old. I keep on saying it's just a good habit to get into. Helps him understand what you want from him. Most of the time, we don't tell dogs how we want them to behave. We don't teach them. Then we get really mad when they don't do what we want. That's not really appropriate for us. We would never accept that. But that's all we do for dogs. We set them up to fail. So the more you celebrate the things that he does that you like, the more he's going to do those. We also started about exercise. Now, he came and brought the fetch object to us a couple times. When he does that, try to stop your work. Spend a minute playing fetch with him. Remember, say fetch as you throw it. When he goes and gets it, brings it back to you, hold the treat out. Yes, he drops it, put the treat in his mouth. When he has low-value items, we'll get back to exercise in a second, but when he has low-value items, and he picks up a toy by himself, quietly pull out a treat, just hold it to his nose when he's got it in his hand. Not if he's got his paws, don't do it. He's got his mouth, hold it to his lips, and he drops it, yes, and put it in, and don't touch the object. After a while, you'll be able to, when you can predict and he doesn't release it, then he has an object in his mouth, you just drop, and then hold it, he drops it, yes, and you give him the treat. By shaping that with low-value items, later on, if he does get a butcher knife or the remote control or something he's not allowed to have, you say drop, drops it, you give it to him. Now, if I've got something in my mouth that I'm not allowed to have and I pull it away, you can get bit. The guardian did get bit. So instead, I show him I have a treat, and that's why the benefit of doing that find it cue. So you drop, say find it, he goes and gets it, don't pick it up. Then throw another treat there, you've already practiced this outside, you practice inside, he knows how to do this. Then when he goes away and leaves the object, you pick up the object and you get a bully stick. Best bully sticks, you can actually buy them from them directly online, and then you relieve a bully stick there, or a cow kneecap, or a cow ear, or a tendon, something that is of equal or greater value. Then he doesn't mind that you're taking his stuff. But if you're constantly taking the stuff that he likes, he's not going to want to give it to you, and he's already communicated he knows how to bite. Now, other forms of exercise, playing tug of war, fetch is a great one. Training is a mental stimulation. Sniffing on walks is mental stimulation. I was showing you something earlier. Actually, I'll show you right now. Milo, this is called cookie in the corner. So I say, find it. I wait for him to get it. I say, yes. Then I say, Milo, here. Yes. Now I have 2 treats. Find it. Yes. Yes. Here. Yes. This is the introduction to scent games. So we're saying find it means go use your nose to find something. So eventually I work up to throwing about 6 or 8 treats over there. I increase 1 each time. And then each time we get another recall at the end. He comes back to us to reset it, so let's just be lazy. Come here. Yes. And then find it. Yes. Or say yes when he licks it up. Normally we don't say yes when he licks it up. For this exercise, getting it is what we want. Yes. Normally we're saying yes for when he does the action we want. All right. So that's Cookie of the Quarter. You can Google scent games, SCENT. There's a lot of games. A lot of people get like a bunch of empty boxes, put like, I call it doggy confetti, piece of paper about that big that you cut down into confetti, fill them up with the boxes, and put a bunch of treats in there. And there's 10 boxes over there. So he's got to use his nose, figure out where they are, dig around, find that little piece of kibble. That drains a lot of energy. It's a great, easy way to burn energy. Give him something to do when guests are here. You can also feed him out of that snuffle mat that I showed you the video of. Get an Omega Paw treat ball, get the large, and fill it up with his kibble. Now that one, make sure you pull it away when he gets done, because otherwise they'll rip it open sometimes. Why are you not paying off anywhere? You're empty. So you might have to nudge that ball a couple times to get him to do it, but that's a nice way for him to get exercise himself. So if we can get and exercise is best done in multiple times shorter, yes, that's celebrating. I didn't ask him to come, but he came, and I'm petting him. For exercise, it's best done every 2 to 4 hours, and it's best done, I like to alternate between physical exercise, mental stimulation. Taking him out for an hour walk is fine, but I'd rather take him out for 3 20-minute walks spread out throughout the day than one 1-hour walk. But feeding him out those snuffle mats, remember, that's like a short walk. We also went over dog consent. So remember, cutoff signals. Milo, come here. Sit. So he's saying, I don't want you to pet me. He's turning his head, he's leaning away, he's making it hard for me to do it. So remember, the best place to pet is here, here, and here, and here, on the sides or underneath. And so if people want to pet your dog and you feel comfortable, which you should eventually, can I pet your dog? Yeah, he likes it here. Okay. So you're petting him in the place that he likes being petted. He doesn't have a need to growl. If he ever bares his teeth or gets stiff, the cutoff signals. Turning my head away, lower my head, leaning away, my ears rotating back. Yes. Baring the teeth and growling is a pretty obvious cutoff signal. Freezing and looking at it with a lot of white eye, that's a big cutoff signal. Hard eyes, unblinking with a stare, that's a cutoff signal. A dog's normally wiggly and jiggly. So if I'm a dog, I'm like this, I'm Milo, I'm like, that's a big signal. You should call him away at that point. So look for those cutoff signals, and if you see them, stop interacting. This includes you guys. A lot of times we don't realize we're petting him. So you're going to catch yourself doing this, just immediately rotate and pet underneath. After a while, you get in the habit of doing that underneath. But he can say, I'm done with things as well. If you see him pulling away or trying to stop doing things, try to stop interacting with them. We kind of think of their dog. We can do anything with our dog, but we can't do everything with our partner. Partner doesn't want to hold hands with us right now. That's okay. That's their prerogative. Now, we want to be an authority figure for our dogs, but we want to dominate them and force them to do things, because then they're going to think that's the way of the world. I want to lure. The guardians here, there are a couple times during the exercise we're doing where they're kind of both wanting to pull on the leash. I like to use a lure. That's why I like to use the hand targeting, so I can go, boop. Well, this is much more impressive when you come over my way. Milo. There you go. Boop. Boop. Yes. So he hasn't done the touch enough. So I have a video for that one if you need to, but practice that a lot. So when eventually say boop, he drops what he's doing and runs over to you. And don't be afraid to use that pause interrupter, the kissing sound, to interrupt him, and then so you kiss, or puppy, puppy, puppy. You might want to actually keep one of these bags, because this tinkle sound is a good pause interrupter for him as well. But if you can interrupt him before he gets a chance to get worked up, I think you're going to have a lot of success. All right, now there's probably some stuff I'm leaving out of here, but I think I've covered most of brass tacks. But make sure that you, one last little thing, ask him to sit before you open doors. Again, I would probably go through what I mentioned earlier about teaching him to sit before you go through the door, but try to have him sit and be patient. Practice, look for opportunities to practice a little self-restraint. Right, we have to show everybody how handsome you are. Come here, sit. Let's sit this way. I don't know my bag is in the way. All right, go get that one. Milo. Sit. Yes. This is my buddy Milo, and this is Milo's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.